Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, Big T, right here with you. Welcome to episode number 73 of the Beyond the Ring with Big T Wrestling podcast for today, Wednesday, July 19th, 2017. I got a really special guest here with us tonight. I got a treat for you guys. He's a professional wrestler. He wrestled in WCW World Championship Wrestling, and he was also the leader of the faction or the group 3 Count in WCW. We got Mr. Evan Karagias along with us. How you doing tonight, Evan?
I'm doing great. What about you?
I'm doing awesome. It's a pleasure to have you here. Thank you, and I really appreciate your time.
Sure, man. I appreciate you having me.
Hey, you ready to have some fun and have a great interview?
I'm ready.
All right, let's rock and roll. Well, to start right off the bat, Evan, we're here for one reason, because we all love the business of professional wrestling. And, each and every one of us has a time in our life when we just fall in love with the business. And that's what I want to ask you. How old were you approximately, and what was the first thing you saw that impacted your life to where you said to yourself, you know what? This looks like something I really want to do. I want to be a pro wrestler.
Man, honestly, it's one of those things where I watched it when I was a kid, more the NWA Mid-Atlantic wrestling days. And, you sit there in front of the TV watching it and you dream about, man, that'd be cool. I'd love to be a pro wrestler. But as far as, I never really had a plan to set out to go to wrestle professionally until probably it was after college. I went to New York and did a little acting, and then, somebody said, well, you wrestled in college, you got some acting, why don't you try out for pro wrestling? And that's when I started watching it again back when NWO was just starting, and kind of went from there,
Oh, I got you. So it's one of those things that just not really planned for it. It just kind of came along for you.
Right.
Got you.
Not saying I didn't have to work for it.
Oh, of course.
Believe me.
I believe you. I'm sure you had to work really hard to get your opportunity.
Right. For sure.
And that's exactly the next part of where I want to go. When this came to you and you got that inspiration to want to get your opportunity to get in that ring and wrestle professionally, how did you go about training? Who trained you? What was it like getting in there for the first time and taking bumps? Like, how did everything go?
Well, I wrestled in college at NC State, so when I decided, I was in pretty good shape just in wrestling. And then when I, ended up going to the power plant and, for the 3-day tryout, and that was absolutely brutal. But once I made that, everything started at the power plant. And, mine was a little bit different than most guys, going and doing indie shows and burning roads up. So for us, it was like 109 guys tried out at the power plant when I did, and then there was 2 of us that completed it, finished, and I was the only one that got contracted at the time. But we had still long days. Probably for me, it was about 6 or 7 months of every day at the power plant from 9 in the morning till 4 or 5 in the afternoon, and getting beat up. So it was. It was rough. It was long days and a lot to cover in a short amount of time, too.
Yeah, you're talking like 8-9 hour days at the power plant. That's like working a full-time job.
Yeah, hey, and then when you get done with that, then you do have to go to your job.
Oh, man.
So, yeah.
I give you credit, Evan. That sounds like a real tough road to...
Yeah, listen. And, honestly, at the time, I was married and just had my first child, and my wife and my baby were back where I originally was raised in Charlotte, so I was in Atlanta. So I would wrestle all day, work in the evenings, and then come Friday, I'd wrestle and then go to actually I was bouncing at the Gold Club, and then when I got through with that at 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock in the morning, I'd get in the car and drive straight back to Charlotte or Gastonia, and basically sleep all weekend and do it all over again until I made enough money to move them down there with me.
Wow.
So my burning the road up wasn't necessarily going to shows. It was just getting back to my family after a long week.
And you know what? I'm sure getting back to your family after a long week had to feel good. It had to feel good to get home and see your family and finally take a weekend break with everything that you had going on.
Oh yeah.
But you put in your work, and after you went through, you said about the 6-7 months of doing this. How did everything go about with you getting called up to WCW? Like, how did that come about, and how did it feel to know that you did it?
Yeah, well, I had a lot of stress on me, man, just trying to be able to pay the bills and support a family, and and working a part-time job and basically going full-time at the power plant. So, it was a lot on me, and I kept pressure in the office saying, hey, I need my opportunity. I want to get an opportunity. And they were like, I heard the whole ring around, people wait forever and this and that. But I didn't have time to hear that, man. I had, a newborn and a lot on my back. And I ended up telling them, if we weren't going to do anything or they didn't think they needed me, I was going to go back to New York basically and get back on the soaps. And I remember they called me in for a Saturday night show, and I was wrestling Chris Jericho. It was my first match ever, and Eric Bischoff told me that night, he said, hey, kids, you got one shot. If you do good, you're in. If you don't, you're out. Just being up front with you. And I said, that's all I can ask, to be up front. And thank God hell, Chris Jericho, man, one of the best, to work with me. And more than just that, man, Jericho let me hit my 450 front flip, off the top on him. And who's going to do that for you,
Oh, it's, what, there's very few guys in the business, that do what Chris Jericho has done. He believes in helping out his fellow wrestling brother, and he's just a wonderful guy. He was actually the man that got me into pro wrestling. He was the guy that I looked up to. He's my all-time favorite, and it's just it's something, to hear that you had your first match with them. I really enjoyed hearing that story, because that is something.
Hey man, there's some things you just don't forget. And like I said, Chris didn't have to let me hit that 450, man. Here's a kid he's never seen wrestle, and he trusted me, to hit this 450. So I gotta take my hat off to Chris Jericho and give him credit for that.
Oh yeah, because you know what? So some of the guys, they would want the spotlight to be on them. It wouldn't matter if you made it in or not, or tried to make you look good. They would be thinking, well, I need to look good. I need to get the spotlight, and
well, how it is. Let's be realistic about it. Everybody wants the same audience. They want the same money and the same fans. So very few people want to see you do good. They all tell you they do, but they really don't. That's just all bullshit aside,
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I totally agree.
I've had guys tell me to do one thing, and when I was green, the first couple months of wrestling, this is what they like, this is what they like, and then you go out there and do it, and find out later that's nothing what they wanted, But yet somebody mid-card guy that you trusted or whatever tells you to do something that's not. But it can be dirty, or at least it used to be. I don't know exactly how it is so much today, but hopefully, we'll find out fairly soon.
Hey, let's hope. And so you got rolling in WCW, you got your shot, and how did things take off? In the beginning, was it a rough start, or were you pretty much just flying on cloud nine when you got your shot?
No, it was a rough start, man, because to me, getting the contract, getting the money was great. I mean, I felt like I just hit the lottery. You know what I mean? At my age, back then, at 23 years old or so, making $100,000. I mean, plus to me, it's like I hit the jackpot. But realistically, I was out there just getting beat up every night. I mean, I made they wanted me to wrestle because I made people look good when I got beat by them. And then I tried not to complain. He kept my mouth shut and did the right thing. And I would have liked to have some opportunities earlier, and when I say opportunities, I'm not talking about just being on the big show in the middle of everything. I'm saying somebody can say, hey, this kid is here, and within 1 year, we want him to be at this level and go and push you. And, the time that did happen for me, I think was 3 Count was in there, and Kevin Sullivan was looking, and I don't know, maybe his intentions were just to beat us up, but and I hated him for it back then, but I love him for it now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because, he gave us the opportunity, and he put us on TV, and we stayed on TV because of him.
I was gonna say 3 Count. You guys were pretty much regulars on TV. Throughout. What was it, like late 1999 and throughout all of 2000? Like, you guys were one of the main factions there.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, when they didn't know, a lot of times when they weren't sure what they were going to do with, Hogan and some of those guys or NWO, it was 3 Count or Rey Mysterio and the Animals, the Filthy Animals, and all those guys that we're holding things down, because the high flying is what people were getting into. That you got to remember that all the high flying stuff was fairly new back then, somewhat.
Yeah, and the cruiserweight division in WCW was great too.
Yeah, well, I really shouldn't say it was new. I think it's more the fast pace was new, more of the lucha style and stuff.
Yeah, like stuff like Rey Mysterio would do, or Eddie Guerrero would do. That was all fresh.
Right. Yeah.
How did the whole 3 Count faction come about? Like, the name and the creation of it. Like, was it something that you and Shane Helms and Shannon Moore cooked up yourselves, or was it something
No. If you remember back then, I was already on Nitro and Thunder and stuff. And basically, Jimmy Hart came to me and said, hey, I got these 2 guys. They're from North Carolina, about where you're from. We want to make this, do this new tag team together. And if you're up for it, and he told us about the boy band thing and, all that. And I was like, sure, man, let's do it. Anything. I just wanted to get into a character and have storylines. And so in reality, it was all Jimmy Hart's idea.
Oh, okay. Now, once you guys got going, you got your feet wet. You were on TV regularly. Once you got in the swing of things, was 3 Count something that you really loved to do, or were you craving a singles run, or pretty much where you guys were at was that, like, were you happy with that?
Oh, I was happy with 3 Count, man. I mean, I've had a blast doing it because, you got to remember, sometimes with tagging, I mean, it's a lot more work. So when you're single, it's a lot more work. Tag team, to me, gave me a full extra time to play the cameras and work it and kind of get a feel for everything, So I really enjoyed doing tag teams.
I see. Now, go ahead, Evan. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that's okay. Go ahead.
I'm trying to think where I wanted to go with 3 Count X. Oh, here we go. When you guys were nearing the end in WCW, you know, because you guys were having that run all throughout 2000. And, you know, when you did you guys ever win the tag titles or anything like that? I can't remember off the top of my head. Did they?
We actually won the hardcore against Brian Knox.
Okay.
You know, back then, we did a little, it was, I guess a three-way or whatever for three of us on him. So that was the main thing. And then I think that's it.
I just remembered something actually. You know, I'm thinking about all of the wrestlers that you faced even before 3 Count in WCW, because I'm sure the fans would like to have some insight on this. I would too. What was it like getting in the ring with Randy Savage? Because I believe you wrestled Macho Man once, the late great Macho Man.
Man, it was great. I mean, Macho Man was a cool guy, man. And for me personally, it was an honor to be in the ring with him. I mean, let's face it, that's Macho Man. He's a legend, you know. And you got to remember that was my first time being a main event against Macho Man on Thunder, you know. So it was great.
That's
I'll tell you, I know I did. You know, if you remember, that was when he had just come back from knee surgery, I think, and he was, you know, coming off with his big elbows. And man, he really crushed me a couple times though.
It was, that was around the time. I remember, the knee injury that he did have. Yeah, that was around that time, and you know that had to feel good to get in the ring with him. That probably gave you a sense of like, wow, you know, I'm getting to the top here.
Yeah.
But you had your run in 3 Count. You guys held the hardcore title like you were talking about. And one interesting thing I'd like to get to, I don't know exactly when your last match in WCW was, but were you there for
My last match was the last night of WCW.
Okay, so you were on the final night of Nitro.
Yeah. Yeah.
What was it like, you know, just because I never got to talk to anyone that was on the final Nitro or anything like that. What was it like being there in this company that you were in for years, where you got your start, and you know, you look around and here it is coming to an end? Like, was it surreal? Like, how did you process it?
Nobody really knew how to process it because nobody really expected anything at the time. You got to remember, you know, no one knew that the company was going to be sold. And when I knew something was up, was when I was walking in the back at the Coliseum, and down the hall I see Shane McMahon come in. And I thought, oh shit, something's going on, you know. And then basically there was a big meeting they had, and here comes Shane, comes in and says that they now own the company and that we work for them. And we were the only ones left that they kept. There was like 18 of us that they kept.
Wow. So you guys didn't even know leading up to the final Nitro that it could be the end. The management didn't even let you know nothing?
Nope. Nobody knew. I mean, it was kept like so quiet. It's unreal. It's hard to believe nobody knew. But they didn't.
I was going to say, nowadays, with the way things are now in the present day with the wrestling business, people would be all over it.
Yeah.
There's no way you can keep it quiet. And
yeah, I know. Well, the social media and everything.
I remember, you know, now that you said how quiet they kept it, as far as when it was all over, I'm curious about this because I heard things that Bischoff supposedly stated that he wanted to go in with a couple business partners, I guess, and buy WCW, but when he found out there wasn't going to be a TV deal, the people that he was going to buy it with, they backed out, and that left them with nothing, you know, to where he couldn't buy it. did you guys at least have any type of discussions of Eric potentially buying the company, or after that Nitro, you guys were pretty much left to wonder what's going to happen?
We heard rumors of this person wanted to do that, or this company was talking about buying it. You hear all this stuff, but it was just hearsay. So nobody really took it too serious because, unless you were in the groups, maybe with Hogan or somebody like that, nobody really knew. So nobody took it serious. And the thing about it was, even if you did hear the company was going to be sold, nobody knew when. And they damn sure didn't expect it was going to be the day that it happened.
Yeah, that just that came out of nowhere. Like I'm trying to think back of this, to help you through it a little bit too. Like I remember the week before, Eric Bischoff came on Nitro and announced that they were going to have a Night of Champions in Panama City Beach. And basically what he says was he gave like 50-50 with the gray area. I remember him saying that, it could be the last night of wrestling on the Turner Networks, but we don't know. And then, that night came, they did the Night of Champions thing. Shane McMahon was there, and next thing you know, it goes off the air, and then I'm like, all right, Shane McMahon owns it, so what does this mean? Is this it? Like, they really left you with the cliffhanger. And I felt bad for the guys that worked for the company because you guys were the ones really left with, what do we do now? And
that's where I got frustrated. Was because they sent me up to Cincinnati, and I was up there and nobody knew what direction we were going in or what they wanted to do with the company. They couldn't tell me anything, and I was up there and then had my wife and kids were living back in the Carolinas, and I'm like, just tell me if we're going to be here or not so I can move them here if we are. I just wanted to know something. And then they never would tell me, so I ended up moving them there. And then when it was after maybe a month them being there, so then they decide they want me to go to either Europe, Puerto Rico, or somewhere, and they tell me it'll only be 6 months. Well, they told me it'd be a couple of weeks in Cincinnati, and it was 6 months. So like I'm not going to live away from my family for a year straight. So I ended up just making the decision that I'm going to go ahead and leave.
Yeah, that's, when WCW went under, it's like, what did they do with you guys? Like, did you guys have to report to WWE headquarters? Did you have to go in and meet with Vince? And did Vince decide if he was going to keep you guys, or it was nothing like that? Because I remember they had this whole Invasion pay-per-view that actually happened in Cleveland, Ohio. And I remember them having, just certain guys on the WCW roster. I know Shane Helms was one of them, your fellow 3-count member. And, when I just tried to...
I think when Shane had went up to there and started with WWE, I'd already left at that time. Because when I left, they hadn't done anything with Shannon or any of us. Mainly it was because some of the guys at WCW and ECW were still down there kind of just being held by not really knowing what we were going to do.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So basically what happened, if I'm following this correctly, and you can let me know if this is what they did. Basically, the guys that didn't have guaranteed contracts to sit at home, the guys that wanted to wrestle, were the ones that WWE had to choose from, and they just basically picked and chose who they wanted out of the guys that did not have those guaranteed contracts, like your Goldbergs.
Well, we had guaranteed contracts, but they still didn't know what they wanted to do with us.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we were on guarantees. But like I said, here we had just come off of TV, and they sat us there for 6 months, and we're going, this is crazy, and they couldn't tell us. And also, don't forget, at the time they demoted us because when they bought WCW, there's nowhere else to go if you didn't want to go to Japan, you know?
Yeah.
Or you know, out of the country. So, and like I said, they knew I wasn't going out of the country just because I had family. So that's what was frustrating about the whole thing. Now, guys that like Shane at the time didn't have a family, you know, it didn't really make a difference for him and Shannon because they could wait it out as long as they needed to. All they had to do is take care of themselves.
Yeah, you were in a whole entirely different stage of your life. And, you know, so this all happens. You know, you got to walk away from it for the sake of your family. And
that's right.
Before I move forward, I want to take a step back real quick and, you know, go to, because I've heard that, you know, when WCW was on its decline, that there was just so much mismanagement, that the locker room was in disarray from rumors that I've heard. And, you know, what if you can get into any of it, what were some of the backstage politics like in WCW at the time you were there? Like, you know, how was the locker room and how were guys?
Well, I mean, it was the same, you know, I'll verify what probably everybody else has said. There was too many Chiefs and not enough Indians. Everybody's running in there, trying to put their 2 cents in, trying to kiss ass to whoever's in charge. And hell, it may still be like that. I don't know. But that's the way it went down. And, you know, for me personally, I didn't have any brothers, cousins, uncles, or friends in business. And the few friends I thought I had, you know, over 10 years later now, I can tell you they're not friends, most of them. You know, there might be 1 or 2, but that's it. And, you know, who told me that probably within the first year of me wrestling was Mr. Perfect, Kurt Hennig. He started giving me some advice. I'll never forget, Greensboro Coliseum, and he said, now how do you know I'm a friend? I said, well, you wouldn't be smart enough for this if you weren't. He said, no. He said, after you look back 10 years from now and you go, you know, Kurt Hennig was a good guy. I wrestled with him for a long time, and, you know, he's a good guy. He said, and you can sit back 10 years later and say that, you'll know I was a friend. And he said, or if I'm dead and fat and gone. And little did I know he'd be dead within a year. But I loved Kurt Hennig, man. I thought he was a great guy because he was always a straight shooter for me personally.
Well, and, you know, I thank you for sharing that story because, you know, to hear something about Kurt Hennig, that's just, that's an incredible, incredible thing to hear. And
yeah, he's awesome, man.
And, you know,
he didn't,
oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just saying that, you know, he didn't have to smart me up, but he just liked me and, you know, helped me out a lot. And you know, and then you got your other guys at the time, some of them that didn't have a lot of political pull that helped me out a lot. Brad Armstrong, huge help for me. And even his brother, Stephen Scott, would always try to help critique my matches and the insights on things, you know. Even Road Dogg, man, from by phone sometimes I talk to him, you know what I mean? So there's some good guys, but they're usually not the ones that are trying to take over. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But when it gets to those certain ones, they know who they are. Their egos get in the way.
Yeah, and actually, you know, I was just going to tell you, you know, I'm sorry that, you know, to hear that you had to go through hard times, you know, and losing people that you thought were your friends, because, you know, a lot of times I hear that, you know, the locker room is like a brotherhood, and, you know, these guys keep in touch, and, you know, this is one of those instances, you know, where.
Well, I talk to Shannon more, probably more than anybody now, and, you know, over the years, it's Shannon, Kevin Nash, and Scott a little bit. And every now and then I'll talk to Shane, but not as often. And that's about it for me since I've left, man. So, you know, you get it. Everybody's on the road and busy too, you know. But you know, that's just the way life is, man.
Yeah. Yeah, things change, you know, then that is the way life goes, and you know,
Yeah, and then you'll have some guys that'll try to cut your throat now. Jeff Jarrett. You know, someone like him will try to cut your throat. So you just never know until the opportunity presents, and you know, somebody either lets you in or they don't. You know.
Well, one thing I remember with Jeff Jarrett, with Double J and WCW, is that he really wasn't there all that long. I remember he had his last match in WWF at No Mercy 1999 in Cleveland, Ohio against China. And, you know, another interesting fact is the Invasion pay-per-view in July 2001 also took place in Cleveland, Ohio. It's fun, kind of funny, but I remember Jarrett had the match with China. Next thing I know, he's gone from WWE. You don't see nothing of him. Then he's immediately in WCW with this whole slapnuts gimmick that he's doing.
Yeah.
And then they put the title on him when he has never held a world title in WWE.
Well, they did that to get it Vince, I'm sure. You know, to piss Vince off. But they ended up, you know, and Jeff took it and ran with it, and, you know, what he was supposed to do, and made him a lot of money just because of that situation right there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And, you know, it's something because, you know, I always, you know, I appreciate the little eye opener because, you know, up until today, I always pictured, you know, Jeff Jarrett as that veteran superstar that would help lead the guys in the back, but it doesn't sound like that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. Everything changes, you know. Decisions change, and some of the boys changed. I think when they started seeing money being thrown away, or not thrown away. Well, some of it's thrown away. I mean, look at it. They you know, I don't know. They put ICP in there, and some of those guys, and I mean, they obviously aren't workers, but they'll suck the money dry. What was it, David Arquette or some of those guys too? You know.
Yeah, they put the title on David Arquette because they had what was it, that movie Ready to Rumble that was coming out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then they put the title on Vince Russo.
Yeah, I mean, stuff like that. You know, I mean, I don't know. They did some crazy stuff, man. I mean, I think Eric had a good eye for things, especially the big guys, NWO.
I'm Paul. How did you say that?
Oh, sorry, I don't know what the heck that was. I'm sitting in the car now.
It's like the lines crossed or something real quick.
Yeah.
That's all right. I'm still here.
All right. But, you know, I think some of the stuff in the NWO was great. It was genius, some of it, you know. But when it's almost like they got too desperate, you know, and started pushing things too hard. You know, I like that. I get it. They're wanting pay-per-views every month to make money and stuff. But sometimes I just wish it would have slowed down just a little bit, you know, and been able to sell things more, or everything wasn't. And I just felt like a lot of it was just so rushed. But maybe that's just me, you know. I don't know.
Yeah. I can understand where you're coming from. I mean, I can see a little bit of that too. And you know, I got an interesting question for you. You know, before we get to the end of the interview, what was it like working for both Eric Bischoff and Vince Russo? If you could give a little insight about both men.
Well, like I said, you know, Eric was doing more with NWO and the big guys. He had a lot on his plate, so I didn't really deal with Eric as much. But you know, you won't ever hear me complain about Eric, because I think the world of Eric. I mean, look, Eric gave me. I went through 3 contracts with him, so you know, I have nothing but good things to say about Eric. Russo put the strap on me. So, you know, I'm pleased with Russo for that side of it too. And I think Russo had so many people in his ears, and you know, I don't know, he got to the point where he didn't want to listen to anybody. And then, you know, there's times where I don't know, man, you just can't, you know, he had too many people in his ears, and he start something one way and then decide to turn. And I think what he needed to do was get to know his talent better on a personal note. And then he could tell, okay, that fits this guy. Let's take this storyline this way with him, instead of just going, do this. It's okay. We'll make it funny. It'll be a clown, you know, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, sometimes you just got to get to know your people, man, and you'll get a lot more out of them if you know who they are and what they're capable of.
Oh, definitely. You know what? You hit that 100% correct. And
yeah,
you know,
even if you look at 3 Count, for example, didn't have any time to rehearse, learn our choreograph our stuff, nothing, man. They threw us out there literally the next day. But if they had put us aside for 3 months and let us go and, you know, get about 5 or 6 songs and have them down perfect, choreograph our shows and have them down perfect, and then come out as the best and most entertaining boy band in the history of not just wrestling, but of music, period. And come out there so freaking cocky like that, people would have no choice but to hate us. But instead, they threw us out there and wanted us to clown and be funny and be like idiots. It was almost like somebody wanted us to sink more than they wanted us to sell tickets. You see what I'm saying?
Exactly, yep. And then it's like, you know, I saw some similarities, honestly, between 3 Count and Too Cool. You know, Scotty 2 Hotty, Grandmaster Sexay in WWE. It's like,
well, and see, theirs was done right. You know, they did a great job with it, I thought, but it was thought through a little more. You know.
Yeah. Because I remember I was one of those fans, you know, how you hear about you know, on TV or when they do these documentaries and hear people saying, well, I flip back and forth between Nitro and Raw. I was one of those people too, you know, that was just me. So it's like I would always have my eyes on certain characters.
And we all were like that. You know what I mean? That's what was so great about it back then. That's what made it so competitive and the business grow. And, you know, you got NWO on one place, or you get, you know, the High Flyers or the Filthy Animals or 3 Count, and then on the other side you got, you know, Cold or The Rock or something. So people were back and forth all the time, man. And that's what was so great about it, I thought.
It was a fun time in wrestling, and I gotta tell you, I miss the good old days. I really do.
Yeah, I hear you. I know.
Because even though I'm 29 years old, I have that old school, you know, mindset. Like I love the way it used to be. It's like now, at least in my
listen, man, I'm still. I mean, I think, you know, I'll always be the Ric Flair and Ricky Steamboat days. I love those days of wrestling, man. I wish I'd have been around back then. You know.
Yeah. Those were the days.
Yeah. So anyway, we'll see, man. We'll see what happens. You know, that's why I was watching some of the New Japan wrestling the other night, and you know, I love that stuff too, man. I'll tell you the truth that, you know, if I didn't have a big family, I would be in Japan right now, because when I watch the wrestling, man, you know, the art of it, I just love it. You know, it still goes fast enough where it's not boring. It's still stiff enough to get your attention, but yet there's an art to it, and they sell it. And I just, you know, I love that. I think it's great.
Oh, it's absolutely perfect. Like, you if you ask me, in my personal opinion, I got to be straight up honest. I think WWE has gotten, even though they're still considered the number one company in the U.S., if not the world, I think they've just gotten so commercialized. They're too focused on, like this entertainment meets reality TV aspect, and it's really wearing thin on me. It's like I miss my wrestling base. Like I tune in because I want to see wrestling, like how I had wrestling and the compelling storylines during the Monday Night War, and it's like it's all gone. But when I tune into New Japan, it's just like you said. I see that art again, and it's like it gives me hope that there's still hope for wrestling the way it used to be.
Yeah. And listen, man, I'm telling you, I was glued to the TV the other night. I mean, that's just what I don't know. I just caught myself, and I'm like, oh, this is awesome. And I think honestly, I'm just happy that there are more than one company now. Lucha Underground's going well, and Impact, they're still around. They're still pushing and trying, and I hope they do well. And then you got Ring of Honor. Ring of Honor, you can't underestimate them.
Yeah.
So.
You know what? There's different choices. I'm so glad that there's not just one alternative nowadays, and that's such a great thing. And before I move on, Evan, to our final portion of the podcast, which will be about, what you're up to today and everything, I wanted to ask you one more question about your career, and that is, in your career in WCW, I know you had the hardcore title with 3 count. What other championships did you get to hold in WCW?
The Cruiserweight title.
Oh,
I had the Cruiserweight title at WCW also. And then after, when I did leave WCW, then I went on and, got the AWA heavyweight title. So, and then at WCW, of course, we said the hardcore.
Nice. Now, you walked away from WCW. You basically had to put your wrestling career on hold or pretty much retire and hang up the boots, so to speak.
At the time, I thought that I was going to hang them up. And, but, luckily, and I guess I've been blessed that, I'm in a different position financially. And, I've got a couple different businesses, so I've been very lucky or blessed. And now, I'm ready to go back in the ring and have some fun.
Oh, that sounds great. So what I want to ask you is, you gave us a little hint right there of what's going on. What has been going on, as far as today, and what are your future plans? I think you just gave us a hint, but feel free to share with us what you can.
Yeah, well, don't ever count me out. That's all I can say. Because while I've been gone by choice for the most part. I didn't plan on coming back. And, if there's an opportunity there, right now I'll probably take it. But I'm going to jump back in the ring in a couple of months, coming up in, maybe the end of August or September, and do a couple shows and just make sure everything's as in good a shape as I think it is. Because I'm probably in the best shape now that I've been in I don't know, probably 7 or 8 years. So I'm looking forward to it. Just starting out slow, getting some more matches down, and then we'll see, how it unfolds. I don't know which company yet, but I do know they're there, and I have to talk to a few people, so we'll see.
Well, I'm definitely rooting you on. I wish you nothing but success. I'd love to see you back in the ring and see what you can do. I think that would be an awesome thing.
Cool, man. Yeah, I look forward to it.
And I guess what I'm gonna ask you in our closing segment, Evan, is you've got to wrestle some great names in the business, like Macho Man Randy Savage, like we mentioned earlier. If you had to pick a wrestler from your time, that say you never really got to get in the ring with that you always wanted to get in the ring with? Who would it be out of the guys that you came across?
As far as working out of respect to be in the ring with them, probably would be Ric Flair. I would love to work with Flair.
I think
just thinking off the top of my head. I mean, I did some angles around him where I worked with David Flair some, and Rick was on the outside. That's not the same to me as working a match. I just think it would have been great and a lot of fun to work a match with Flair. Or, if you're talking tag team, I mean, Scott Hall, Kevin Nash. I mean, those guys. I'm the type, I've always loved big man, little man matches. I think they're a lot of fun too. So, I mean, there's a lot of guys, man, I have a tremendous amount of respect for. They all might not, I might not like them all, or they might not all like me, which doesn't matter. But when somebody's that good in the ring, they're good, and you respect them for it. And when you step in the ring, you take all the personal shit away, man. And it's time to dance,
And that's spoken like a true professional. No matter what.
Yeah.
When it's time to get down to business.
Yeah.
It's all about business, and wrestling really is a great sport. It, for me, as far as with my experience, it brings a lot of people together. Like a lot of people that I know today and talk to today is all because of my love and passion for the pro wrestling business. And I got to tell you, it's something that's magical in my eyes.
Yeah. It is, man. There's something special about it, just because it's been around this many years. You know what I mean? It's through everything, thick and thin, good days, bad days. Whether you're talking about the audiences or you're talking about the country, economically, wrestling sticks around, and it does for a reason, man.
That's for sure. That is for sure. And just to tell the fans right now, if you got any, I don't know if you probably don't have any upcoming appearances as of yet, but just if you would, or anything with social media or website.
I've got some things I've gotten verbal commitment to, but I don't want to say until I've got the money. And
okay.
Usually I'll get some of the money up front, so we'll see what happens. But I should have something coming up in August, and I look forward to doing a couple more after that. So, but if anybody's out there wanting to book me, they can, direct message me on Twitter at EK Karagias, or I'm on Facebook or Instagram, wherever. They can just hit me up, and I'll get back to them.
And whenever you find something out, Evan, don't hesitate. Whenever you find something out, just feel free to text me. When you find something out, if you want a little help with it getting around, I'd be more than glad to make an announcement on my podcast and tell people about it. Or if you'd even want to pop on and tell people yourself, for a quick little cut in, I'd be more than glad to do that.
And if any promoters tell me they heard about me on this show here, then I'll, maybe I'll work something out and do it for half price.
Oh, cool. Yeah, if you have any announcements or anything that comes up, if you want me to promote it here, you know me, I'll promote it for free. I'll promote it for free for you, and just like I tell everybody else, and I'll get the word around, because I really want you to be able to have that comeback, and I want you to have the big crowds.
Cool, man. I appreciate it, because I've got the support right now of my 2 younger kids, and that means a lot to me. And to be honest with you, I'd like to go back for one more little run, and I'd like to leave wrestling a little different than I did last time.
Yeah, this is kind of about, you know, like how it happened with WCW back in the day. You know, you didn't really know what was going on. This is basically about coming back to the sport that you love more than anything else. And doing it your way, ending it on your terms, the way that it should have happened before.
That's right. You know what they say, live at 5, New York to LA's prime time. Coming at you, baby.
Yes, sir.
I'm ready.
I'm ready to see you back as well. And trust me, I'm sure all the fans here listening to this are rooting for you. I know that I'm wishing you all the success in the world, and I can't wait to hear something from you. I hope.
Cool. And if I don't know if anybody's at North Myrtle Beach any this summer, y'all go check out the clubhouse on Highway 17, little restaurant bar, and that's my spot. And maybe you'll see me in there, get you a good steak or burger, and enjoy.
Oh. Hey, I've been to Myrtle Beach a couple of times. You know what? Maybe I'll have to pay you to visit again and try to catch you up there.
That sounds great.
But Evan, if you got any last words to say to the fans before I sign us off, feel free.
Hey, pretty much just keep your eye on me, because usually when I set my mind to something, I usually do it. And like I said, I want to give the fans something to remember for life.
And I have no doubt, Evan, I think you're going to do that. You sound driven. You sound ready to go. I think this is going to be your time, man.
Cool deal, man. Well, I appreciate everything. I appreciate having me on, and let's make this happen.
Hey, I appreciate you coming on, and I appreciate the time. And if you hear anything, like I said, if you want me to be a part of it and announce it, or if you want to come back on and announce it to the people yourself, feel free. Just contact me.
All right, cool deal. I'll lock this number in.
Awesome. And can you hang on for about 1 minute while I sign off with the live crowd, and then I'll come right back to you?
Sure.
All right, Evan, I will be right back to you in just a minute. And to the live crowd here listening tonight, thank you very much for tuning in and listening. And this was a great interview with Mr. Evan Karagias. I couldn't thank him enough for being here with us tonight. This was just this is a phenomenal interview. I had a great time and can't thank Evan enough for his time. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let's all wish Evan the best on his potential return to the ring. And, this has been episode number 73 of the Beyond the Ring with Big T Wrestling podcast with Evan Karagias. And this was for today, Wednesday, July 19, 2017. And I will be back with you next week for episode number 74 of the Beyond the Ring with Big T Wrestling podcast. Actually, I might have an episode tomorrow night. For July 20th, episode number 74. And we will talk to you all very soon. So hope you enjoyed the show. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow night. Take care. I love you all. And thank you to Evan Karagias again. And good night, everybody.